Good Monday morning, everybody. I think I got everybody this morning. I am so excited. Like, some of you guys are just, you're so sweet. So Jane texted me or emailed me this morning from England. Yes. Right? Yes. No, I was just like, it wasn't Wales, right? That's yeah. Anyway, so Jane sent me an email this morning and and then just you guys are so sweet. And Susan, I'm going to come see. Oh, yeah, Susan says it's the first day of school there. Yeah. Oh, excellent. Yeah. So in Virginia, which is where Susan is from. So I have to tell you who Susan is. I'm just going to talk about you for a minute, Susan. So when I had my dance studio in Virginia, Susan was our kids were very similar age-wise, and we went to the same preschool. Our kids went to the same elementary school and middle school and high school. And so Susan and I would constantly see each other on the road, at the same stoplight, same time of day, we'd wave, But she and her daughter also both danced at my dance studio back in Virginia. And so obviously she's more than just, another mom who has kids the same age and another, dance student person, but she's a very dear friend. And I adore you, Susan. So it's so nice to be able to see your little pretty face pop up here on your little icon on our thing. Oh, Erica's standing by. What are you gonna say? I don't.
Hi, Amy. I'm here on the other side of the counter, and I just we mentioned Jane and being from England, and this will matter to no one except for me and Jane and her husband. But Liverpool beat Newcastle 2-1 yesterday, down a man. So sorry, Jane. That's the way it goes. Reporting from the other side of the counter, I'm Eric Kidwell.
That's fantastic. Did you realize you interrupted me when I was talking about Susan? Susan, I apologize. I was in the middle of talking about you. I wasn't. You just literally, he interrupted me. Anyway, Susan, I adore you. Too. So I'm going to come see Susan pretty soon. I have to head back to Virginia in September it's a dual trip. Now I was getting ready to say a bad word. Now another trip. I get to see Susan and her new grandbaby. So I'm very, very, very excited, which means I have a grand student. I mean, not really, but that's what I call them when my students now have kids. Even though I haven't been teaching now for a while, I'll still call her my grand student. Anyway, so Susan, I will see you very soon, my sweet friend. Anyway, so now not to poo-poo on Jane's breaking news. Yes. So anyway, so Susan, I will see you soon when I head back to Virginia. Anyway, so I think I got everybody. A few of you may popped on since then. Sydney, good morning. Allie is with us again. Jan and L. Roberts and Beth. Good morning, Beth. How's your house? Beth, text me later. Let me know how everything is going. Although I'm not sure if you're here or if you headed back, but let me know how things are going. If there's anything we need to follow up on for you. Jane Forrest is here. Nunez. I'm assuming that relates to football.
It does indeed.
Liverpool, like soccer. Yeah,
yes,
it does.
Yes.
Laura, good morning to you as well. Anyway, Sharon. Sharon G, the walking trail that you showed on the Sunday drive, is that only for the Del Webb residents or Highland Ridge too? So just thank you for actually mentioning that. So in Del Webb has their own walking trail that's not accessed or connected to any of the other communities. They just did some rerouting of roads back in that general area. And a while back, when everything was just big mounds of dirt, and they were still clearing and moving dirt and working on infrastructure, we had done a Sunday drive. We stopped. Eric popped out, ran up on that dirt hill, did the camera over top of it. And you can kind of see how everything has been reconnected or disconnected. But the Del Webb walking trail is only for Del Webb. That doesn't mean that there's not ways to walk around Highland Ridge, but that particular little section is, Del Webb has their own.
Yeah, that road we showed is gated off once you get to Del Webb.
Yeah.
But it is a trail back there for now. You can walk some of it.
Yeah. Oops. I'm sorry, doggy. Dog's under my feet. So yeah, because Del Webb is a gated community, they're not going to have any kind of an open access without a gate for any kind of a walking trail. That's a really good question. Thank you, by the way, for paying attention enough to notice something like that. That's a really good question. So today we have lots to talk about. So of course, I'm going to get into the What's Brewing. But speaking of What's Brewing, I have my Disney mug today. So there it is, my little Disney mug with Cinderella's castle on it. Honestly, I was going to try to find one of my fall coffee mugs because I don't know about you, but I'm very much feeling not feeling the fall season because we don't feel much here except heat and humidity, but I'm feeling it in the stores. And, my daughter, which we'll talk about in a minute, she came in over the weekend and we did a couple of trips to Kirkland's. And so whenever you go in there and you see all of their beautiful decor and you smell all the little sachet packets, it just kind of transports you into another season. So I'm pretending like I am in Virginia with fall weather where it's starting to turn crisp and the leaves are starting to change. That's what I'm pretending.
I noticed that last night, that there's like some fall stuff that sort of, there's a thing on the door over there. It's like all of a sudden, Kirkland's is everywhere. So like on this one thing, like on the wide cam I started this morning on that.
The little burnt orange.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so here's what I have decided. So you can go with me on this if you want. So first of all, I like Halloween, and I have Halloween decorations. We've just never been the whole big everything transforms for Halloween. Although I do have some and I should use them more. But I love fall decorations and I love Christmas decorations. And because we are starting to approach the part where it's not taboo to at least talk about the holidays. Yes, I know it's till August. I totally get it. But here's my thought process. Because my mindset goes to where I used to live in Virginia and we don't really get the multiple seasons here, I think that it's fair if I decorate and feel the fall season in my home the months of September and October, right? That's fair. Give me 2 months, because by the way, it's going to take me about that time to find all the bins of all the decorations and finally get them out anyway. But if I have the home kind of feeling fallish, September and October, that's fair. And then November, December, I can have it be more Christmas themed, right? So I think that's fair. So that's what I'm doing. I had a little unexpected time off, which we'll explain in shortly. Not time off, but a day where we didn't have to do what we thought we were going to have to do. So anyway, so cheers to you. This is sort of a fallish mug, even though it's Disney-ish. It's got fall colors. I'm wearing fall colors. Back to school in Virginia. So let's go over what is brewing so we can talk about some of these fun topics. Okay, now before I start this, Beth, I have to, oh gosh, darn it, Eric.
What?
The little
slide
cursor.
Slide it over to the thing. You're over here.
Okay.
So here's the cursor. Yeah, now slide it over all the way over there.
Wait, hold on. I found it. Okay, hold on. Okay, we have all these TVs. Okay, so Beth closed on her beautiful home not too terribly long ago. Sweetest person ever. Beth, I'm looking at my lovely pond fountain view. Life is good. I'm getting more settled in and things are going well. Only minor issues with the house and folks are responsive. That's what I want to hear. Well, Beth, I'm here anyway if there's something that you need. But yeah, you're in good hands there. I think you have a beautiful, beautiful home. But of course, if there's anything that you need me for, I'm just not too far from you. So, all right. So let's go to our what's brewing topic. So beware the eyes. So last week, I think it was, we were talking about how it seems that when we start to approach hurricane season, that it's always the eye hurricanes that tend to wreak a little havoc on us. Back in Virginia years ago, when Elizabeth was a baby, like she was like a toddler or even less than that, Hurricane Isabel hit us hard. We were without power for like 10 days. It was bad. It just sat over top of us. We literally saw our neighbors across the street, tree after tree, like crush their roof. It was scary. And that was Hurricane Isabel with an I. Then we moved to Florida and we get Hurricane Irma. Now, it wasn't too bad, but it was pretty intense. Remember, we build things differently here. So, we can sustain quite a bit. Hurricane Irma. Then last year, or the year before, was it Ian? Actually, it was last year because we, a lot of people had a little bit of water damage. We even had some that was seeping in through the seal around the windows. And now we have, what's the name again? Yep. Eric, he has to play with his toys.
Yes.
That is fantastic. Honey, that was a fabulous open.
I mean, the best graphics on any real estate-based
Monday
morning Central Florida thing in the world, I think.
Yes. So Tropical Storm Idalia. Now, so here we go. It's another eye. Now, while it's not necessarily a huge concern, it is definitely a concern. It is definitely, here's the thing. I was telling Eric that earlier, as we get older, don't you get tired of hearing the same thing over and over and over again? Because you already know it, but you also know that it's important for it to be said over and over and over again. And you know that more importantly, it's important for other people to hear it over and over and over again. And that is what I'm referencing is how people can be a little bit just, complacent, like whatever, hurricane, another one, it never hits us. We go to all this trouble, blah, blah, blah. Well, obviously you don't know. And I will tell you that when it does impact you, and when Hurricane Isabel hit us, that was the most intense one. And that was in Virginia. That was the most intense one that we have been through as far as devastation. Eric's parents had to come stay at our house because their house had just trees all around them. And we'll never forget that after that particular hurricane, the trees felt like pickup sticks all around their house, but not on their house. It was like a magical little bubble, but things were crisscrossed in the street, all the neighbors, everything. It was just an absolute mess. So having been through one that was pretty intense, and more so what you do afterwards, right? It's the once the storm has finally passed, then what do you do, to pick up and clean up? But anyway, so we have Hurricane or Tropical Storm Idalia that is going more through the Gulf Coast area. And Eric had what we were talking about earlier about just the path that we're on. Oh, I guess, sorry. That we're obviously to the east of Tampa. So if you look at that little cone that we were on, we were kind of on the little edge of it. Yeah. But that's as of now. And as you know, the little funny thing is that, all the different little squigglies, all the different little paths that it could potentially take.
It's an eye hurricane. It's coming for us.
It's an eye.
It just is.
It is.
So sucker's going to make a right turn.
And if it does, you heard it here first and last week before we even knew where it was going. Sakes.
And by the way, Hurricane Center, Hurricane Ichabod, you cowards. Ichabod. I want that on the list. That's solid. But we do have your special way to know where the hurricane's going to go.
Right.
So
yes. So this is how we know where the hurricane is going to go. So yep. So Jim Cantori. So everyone knows that wherever he goes, you're screwed. Like if he's going to where you live, is trouble, my friend. Trouble in what's the city? Chris, what is it from the Music Man? Trouble in
City.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I have musicals. Okay, the dancer brain. Whenever I say something, if it reminds me of a lyric, it goes.
Oh yes, we got trouble, my friends.
Yes. But here's the thing. This is the difference between Eric and myself. I have it in my brain. I just can't get it out of my mouth. Eric has it in his brain. It just comes out of his mouth, and it just comes out of his mouth. Anyway, so yes. So Jim Cantori tweeted, he was teasing where is it that he was going to go. He would be making that announcement. And of course, yes, he's going to Florida. So so we know that somewhere here it's going to be, Susan chimes in, River City. Yep. So yeah, this definitely, we'll see where he's going to go exactly. At the moment, we have our local news. We're talking a lot about Clearwater Beach because obviously that's more on the Gulf side. That's kind of the path that it would hit. And as we talk about that real quick, and then I'm just going to kind of, move on to the next part of it, is that with where we live in Central Florida, okay, no matter where a hurricane, if a hurricane or if it is a tropical storm, whatever, category storm it is, if it's hitting the Gulf Coast, it has to go through the Gulf Coast to get to Central Florida. If it's hitting the Atlantic Ocean side, it's going to have to, from the east, it's going to have to go from the beaches to Central Florida. So we never take the abrupt, direct hit. It always hits land first. That's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. So it doesn't just magically pop down out of the sky like a tornado and it's just going to, pick up your house. It's going to hit from a specific direction. So we have a little bit more notice, and I do feel like we're a little bit more protected here right where we are. But anyway, okay, so let's move on then. So we did the eyes, right? Yep. So the next one is hurricane prep. So while we're on that conversation, and yes, I know for those of you that have been watching us for a while, we have done this before, but it really does, it does need to be repeated. All of you that are watching this, that are my clients that have closed on your homes, this may be the first time that, you've really had to even have mentionings of it on the news. Those of you that are under contract that are watching, those of you that aren't my clients that live elsewhere, It really is important for you to determine a few things. Let me find that little button. A few things to make sure that you are prepared, because, just like I just preach so much about required homeowner maintenance with your AC units, same thing with hurricane prep. You just have to do your due diligence to make sure that you're doing the right thing. So on that note, here are some tips for hurricane prep. Number one, make a plan. You don't want to be waiting until the last minute to get ready. So, where we live in this world, in the time that we live, all of us live, we are very fortunate that we are not from pioneer days where there was no weatherman to see these things coming off, a week in advance, days in advance. So we have time to prepare. So make sure that you don't wait until the last minute. In fact, the best thing to do is when it's time for like back to school season and you're getting those kids the back to school supplies, go ahead and stock up on the hurricane supplies, or do it around the 4th of July, whenever holiday or moment in time on the calendar that you can kind of put as your annual, like when you change your batteries and your smoke detectors, whatever it is, make sure that you double check and replenish your supply stuff. So anyway, so make a plan. Number 2, have a kit. So speaking of that, make sure you have water and food for at least 7 days. You have some battery operated radios. If you have a generator, make sure you have gas in your generator. If you want a solar panel or solar powered generator, I have someone who sells them. But that is a new option nowadays, and that's a good one. It's the water. So this is really important. You have to know how and where the water drains in your area so that you can be ready for the high water levels. So the way our homes, now, first of all, one of the biggest questions I have for clients when they're buying their new home, when they build their new home, they're like, you don't have gutters here? So no, I mean, of course we have gutters here. We have gutters on our home, but homes are not necessarily built with gutters. It can be an option that you add either with the builder, or it could be something that's done after the fact. And of course, if it's a resale home, same thing. It may or may not already have gutters. And it also depends on the way your roof line, what kind of a pitch it has, as to whether or not you actually need gutters. But the most important thing is really talking about the way the water drains off. And so when you look at homes, you will see in between the homes that they kind of dip ever slightly to make sure that whatever runoff from the homes and the roofs go away from the foundation. And those areas may flood. Now, when we talk about the bigger bodies of water, so Beth, anybody that looks out to a pond or, something like that, like for not this home, but our home that we had previously here in Florida, we backed up to a pond, and during Hurricane Irma, that water level got really close to our house. And keep in mind, a pond dips down, so it had to come all the way up. There's a mechanism in place, and I don't know what it's called, but I'm just going to say it's a drain, because once it's this big cement structure that you'll usually see either at one or two ends of those ponds, and that is specifically for when the water comes up and it hits it, it goes down into it. What? Eric's laughing.
No, I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay. Anyway, but the water was like up above that. You couldn't even see it. It was crazy. So water is important, just to make sure you kind of know how that works. Okay, he's laughing. What?
So on my graphic, like, look at number 6. I just didn't change the headline. It's just ice cubes. So this is a template that I had from before. So it's not about ice cubes. That was on the previous graphic.
Oops, I'm sorry. Who was that underneath?
But we'll pretend that it was.
Okay, well then let's move on. I'll go to the other ones though. So let's go back then to, we'll forget 6 for the moment. Now 4, documents. Make sure that your insurance documents and other important papers are protected and accessible. You should do this anyway. Just have it in a specific drawer or in a fire safe in one of those clear waterproof zipper pouches, passports, extra cash, important documents that you need, and just keep that zippered pouch in your fire safe or in a drawer or wherever it is that you like to do it. So for my clients that are selling their homes, I usually give them a big pouch, basically to put like their extra keys, garage door openers, mailbox keys, amenity center key fobs, any extra papers, manuals, warranty items, things like that in that pouch for clients. I actually have a bunch over there, but I can't find one in time. They're probably under the drawers in there. But anyway, but those are great things to kind of keep and to reuse. So, find something like that. Number 5, boredom fighters. Know that you are going to be without power for a few days, or at least expect to do that. So make sure you have some board games or some card games accessible. Some things that you can do, kind of go back to the old times, guys, where you read a book, or you're playing some board games, or maybe you're taking time to write in a journal. Things like that, especially if you have kids. They are on this thing all the time. They are on the computer all the time. They are on their little, I can say Game Boy still because I'm old, but whatever the little handheld things are. So definitely prepare for some, I don't know, find some things that are going to keep them busy. Because trust me, so Elizabeth was a baby during that time. And I mean, because she was a baby, we didn't have to entertain her too much, but it was definitely nerve wracking. And then the last one, going back to that, sorry. The last one is ice cubes. So
the paragraph underneath is fine.
Yeah. Just prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and know that things can change quickly. And that really is important. So there's one thing that's not on here that I really, really, really suggest that you purchase. And that is either a battery operated or preferably like a hand cranked weather radio. Even the kind we had for Hurricane Isabel, again, that was a long time ago, but we actually had a little mini TV where the screen was only like maybe 5 inches by 5 inches. It was a tiny little portable TV that also had the radio weather channels on it too. So you could scroll the dial. And if the TV stations were still broadcasting by any chance, then you were able to still tune in, even if you could just hear them. And then same thing with the radio. And again, those are kind of worst case scenarios, but we have to plan for that, because if you don't, you're going to be stuck and you're going to go, oh my gosh, I should have paid attention. So anyway, so that is it for the hurricane prep. So our third part of what's brewing is closing frustration. And oh my gosh, I need a sip of coffee before we go into this one. Okay, so first of all, anytime you are closing on a home, anybody, anywhere, new construction, resale, any closing anywhere, you need to understand and be prepared for last minute frustrations. A lot of those frustrations come from the lender, to be quite honest. There are 3 magical words that you really need to hear before they'll leave you alone. And those 3 words are clear to close. When you hear the words clear to close, that means everything from the lender's perspective is 100% done. They have no more questions. They are not asking you for any more documents for the umpteenth time. That, every proof of employment, every tax return, every gift letter, everything is in place for your loan, and you are thumbs up, green light, you are ready to go to the closing table. Those 3 magic words are what we're aiming for. Before then, it could be a hot mess. So if you have ever gone through this process, first of all, if you are purchasing a resale home, and you're going to close in like 30 days, everything happens kind of quickly anyway, right? Because, you have a shorter window of time that you need to provide all of those documents, and they are going to ask you silly things. It's like literally like so many silly things. I think they asked my client once about a rental agreement that he had like 10 years ago or something. It's like, what? But anyway, if the lender needs it, there's probably a reason for it, so do your best to comply. However, if you are doing new construction, the beginning part is important because they want to make sure that you get that conditional approval and that you provide the documents, you do your earnest money deposit, all that jazz in the beginning. Well, we usually tell our clients that about 30 days before closing is when everything starts to speed up. So as soon as you start to get word from the lender again and they're asking you for documents, again, by the way, I'm not kidding. They will ask you for the same document 3 or 4 times. And you are like pulling your hair out going, what did you do with it the first 3 times I sent it to you? But again, there's so many different people behind the scenes. We're just going to go with the fact that they're doing their job and that they want to make sure that everything is in place. And maybe the person that needs it doesn't have it, or maybe they need to see it again. There are situations where they need to do an updated proof of employment. They do have to pull credit again at the very end. I mean, there's lots of things that they will be doing at the end of the process. But for us, if you were paying attention last week, we were supposed to be closing on my daughter's home on Friday. She was building a beautiful home here. This is the daughter that's finishing up college in Georgia. Husband is in the military, getting ready to go on a deployment. The logistics of this closing was already a nightmare. It was already very, very, very difficult. She has to do a power of attorney to sign for the husband who's in the military because he's, so many different moving pieces. And, I'm just going to say it. They weren't very communicative with us. And I'm speaking specifically of the lender. This is not a reflection completely on the builder or on title, although it's all tied into the same thing. But this lender is an outside lender, but preferred by the builder. They were asking things like, for instance, here's an example of our frustration. So we did, our earnest money deposit was done in 2 stages, right? And the first one that we did, the very first initial earnest money deposit to get us secured in was a $10,000 earnest money deposit. So Eric paid that because candidly, Eric takes care of all of the financing stuff because he's faster, easier access to all of those documents. So he handles that part of it. So he paid that with credit card just because it was easier. Well, he paid on his credit card. So by the way, this has been a year that this home has been under construction. It wasn't until like the day of closing or the day before closing, they're like, oh, you know what? We need a gift letter because Eric paid that with his credit card, which is his name, but he's not actually buying the home. So that means he gave you the $10,000. So we need a gift letter. Oh my gosh. So yes, I understand. I totally understand the legalities of that. That totally makes sense. It's frustrating, but yes, I can understand. They need to track the numbers. They need to know where all the money is coming from. That's not the problem. The problem is that you had that money for over a year and you're just now asking us or noticing that it was something that needed to be clarified. So that's just one small example. I can go on and on and on and on, but let's suffice it to say it was a nightmare. We did not close, guys. We did not close. We couldn't, the lender was throwing the title company under the bus. The title company was fabulous. They're like, Amy, it's you. If they get us the packet, we'll get you closed. My team will stay late. So title company, fabulous. They were doing everything they could, but obviously they can't put the papers together until we get the papers from the lender. So we are now scheduled to close. Guess what? On Thursday.
On Hurricane Day.
On Hurricane Day.
Well, only kind of.
Well, right, but Hurricane Day because they're going to be traveling from Georgia. So if you look back at the picture, look where it says Thursday early morning, 65 miles an hour, Charleston. But look where
Wednesday PM.
Wednesday PM is, I guess, probably the better one to look at because that's when they were going to try to start driving in. They were going to try to start to drive in so that we could close on Thursday morning. Again, total nightmare. So after coffee time this morning, I need to reach out to the title company to see if we can move the closing to later in the day. We're going to have to cross our fingers.
Elizabeth will be in touch. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, Elizabeth will be in touch. But I will say, like in all seriousness, our frustration is a very real frustration. And this is the same thing that you all feel too. And we want you to understand, when we talk about that, it is an emotional process to go through this. We mean that. Like some people, it's very transactional. If it's an investment property, maybe you don't really care. But for most people purchasing a home, it is a very emotional process. And in the end, after this transaction is over, I will be sharing my experience with them because it's not acceptable. It's just not. And again, this has nothing to do. The builder, the quality of the home, our actual builder, fantastic and fabulous. Title company, fantastic, fabulous. In this case, it was the lender that the builder required us to use. That was an outside lender. That's the problem. And so I feel like I can say that in fairness without throwing anybody under the bus.
So I'll give you a little more background. So Amy cried on Friday.
A lot of
crying.
And
I don't like it when my wife is upset like that. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot more tears in real estate than you would expect.
It's true.
We didn't see that coming in, but it is an emotional process. And my thought through the whole thing was, if we're going through this, we're not anything special, but we know the process. We've helped people through this. We've done this ourselves 4 times, and we've helped hundreds of people through this process. If we're having these problems, my goodness. So one of the things we did was to say, we need to get kind of in contact with all of our people that are closing in the coming weeks, just to set expectations. Hey, they're going to ask you for a gift letter. For the other gift letter I had to write was for something that came out of your account, but I'm also on the account, so it had to be a gift from me to you for it to come out of your account. It was dumb. we had to source some money that came from one of your accounts to your other account because we moved the money.
We transferred it over.
So we could wire the money, which we've sent them $151,000, by the way.
Right.
Now it's just sitting there. So it's not in our account anymore. It's just waiting for the closing. So I'm a little bitter. Yeah. I'm a little salty.
Yeah.
I'm gonna light some people up. No, I'm kidding.
Well, no, like, but back to Eric's point, you know, and I told, and I it's very important for me to share that this is the only way this reflects on the builder is that it is the builder's preferred lender, but it is not an in-house lender. And I think that's important. So let me kind of clarify that. There are larger builder companies and corporations that have everything under that umbrella. They have the sales and the home building. They have the lending, like they actually service the loan. They do the loan to buy your home. And they also even may have insurance divisions. So there are companies that are massive that have all of that under the umbrella. And when they say preferred lender, it's still an in-house lender. There are other builders that still have preferred lenders, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's affiliated with that same builder's name. It just means that they source it out. Like they say, you know, builder A may love to work with, you know, Tommy John's Home Funding, but Tommy John's Home Funding is not a part of the builder. They're not affiliated with them in that regard. It's just they have a great partnership, a great relationship, but they're not under the same corporate umbrella. And that's what happened to us. Now, here's something else, and we're going to talk about this real fast. And I mentioned this before, and guys, it happened to us. The other aspect is that this lender, first of all, they don't really care. And secondly, they're in California. So do you remember when we talked about this? We talked about this not too long ago about how that when your lender is not local, they're working on a different timeline. So we were told our last, and then I promise I'm going to move on because you're allowing me to vent, and this is really good therapy for me right now, so cheers to you. But it is important because somebody told me the other day, we're learning so much from you, from these coffee times, and that's our whole goal. So on Thursday, when we were dealing with all of this, we wired the money, we were getting everything prepped and ready. And my daughter drove in. She left her husband right before he was getting ready to be deployed so that she could be signing on his behalf. College classes, like really inconveniences, but it's important. So those inconveniences were necessary. We're on board with that. Thursday, our last communication was it should get through underwriting in the morning, meaning Friday morning. And we were scheduled to close, I think, at 1 o'clock. And they said and we had already communicated with title that as long as they got the packet at any point in time on Friday, that title was going to get us taken care of. They're like, Amy, they're like, this is not right. This is not, they're throwing us under the bus. We're here for you. We will stay late. I've already talked to my whole team. We will get you closed today, but I can't close without the packet. So our last word was that Thursday evening, we'll get you the packet Thursday morning. That should be through underwriting and they can get the packet. And then nothing. Finally, we reach out at, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and we're like, any update, any word? And the lender's like, oh, well, I've been out with clients all day, so I just got back in, and, the lender's in California, so, and I'm like, so then when you said we'd have it Thursday morning or Friday morning, you weren't talking Friday morning our time, you were talking Friday afternoon lender time. Guys, this is so important, and this whole rant is really that you need to do your due diligence. And honestly, we should have. I didn't realize that this particular lender was not, because if I had known this joke of a lender is what I was dealing with, I would have said, forget it, take your closing cost contribution. I'll use my own lender that I trust and I know will get it done for us. And that really is important because this is the most important, probably one of, if not the most expensive purchase you're going to be making in your life. So while I am an advocate for using a builder's preferred lender, generally speaking, I have to say I'm pedaling back a little bit on that, and I'm asking more questions. So anyway, so let's move on. So yeah, this one, Eric popped this one up. This other little piece of it, this 10-day warning. I only wanted to mention that because, guys, here's another thing. Some builders are now giving you less and less time for closing preparation. It used to be Maggie. It used to be that they would give you a 30-day notice, and some still are, by the way. That is still the norm. But there are some builders out there that are being a little less forthcoming with an exact closing date, which we understand, right? Because they're moving pieces. But once you're 30 days out, a builder should have a pretty good idea that they're going to stay on track and they're going to close on time unless there's an emergency or, a hurricane coming, things like that. But there are some builders that are having trouble meeting their closing dates. And so now they're like, well, we're just not even going to tell you anything until we're like 10 days out. That's also not acceptable. So from my end, I'm doing everything I can to fix some of those things, but obviously I'm one little tiny little person who nobody cares about, these big, massive builders. But anyway, so hopefully that's some good information, sharing our story and our frustration, that it can translate to things that you either are going through, went through, you may get ready to go through. But the main thing is some of it is normal, some of it is not. So anyway, I digress. I'm ready. And Eric is holding his earpiece.
Breaking news from the other side of the counter, Amy. Got an email. You have to be at Horizon High School at 7 a.m. tomorrow. So Amy's speaking at Horizon High School tomorrow to some students. So that's good. But I just saw you have to be there at 7 a.m.
That's great.
So
that's fantastic.
I just wanted to share that with you because I'm like, how does that affect
that makes me
all
happy.
the things that are going on? Which leads me to, you've got some questions about
let's do some
gutters and a question about kind of how the water flows and all that. And then make sure you get to wishes because that's what led me to 7 a.m. What else do you have?
Could you do me a favor, sweetheart?
Yes.
Could you give me a Diet Coke?
Reporting from the other side of the countertop, I'm Diet Coke Boy.
Diet Coke boy. All that frustration. I'm like, I'm ready for the cold caffeine. Okay, so Kim, any idea when
we have Diet Coke.
We have Diet Coke. Thank you, dear.
Break it down.
No koozie? I'm just kidding.
I'll give you a damn koozie.
I'm kidding. So Kim, any idea when they break ground on our house? So Kim, no, not as of yet. So anyone that is building new construction where they actually have the opportunity to build from dirt, as Kim does, it is typically about 3 months in the permitting process alone. So from the time you contract, it's usually about 3 months, and that's usually, okay? Yes, it can be 2 months, but you know what? It could also be 3.5 months. It could also be 45 days. But generally speaking, on average, expect in your heart about 3 months from the time that you contract before it comes out of permitting and before any kind of breaking ground starts, generally speaking.
I'm going over there this week, so I'm going to take pictures early this week. So that's a good way to tell sometimes is when they start clearing off the dirt.
Yeah. So Kim, we'll find that out for you. But honestly, you'll be notified of a pre-construction meeting. We should be copied, or I should be copied on that. But if they reach out to you and let you know, just let us know, and we're happy to help. Okay, will an HOA have to approve putting gutters on? That is a really good question. And as you know, I am a rule follower. I say that, yes, you should still go through that process without any expectation that it's not going to be approved. Meaning of course they're going to approve the gutters, but they do need to know, only because they want to make sure that if you have, that you're not putting up lime green gutters, for instance. It's really just about the technicality of making sure that it's compliant with any of the codes within the community. As long as it's a white gutter or whatever gutter they require, it's not going to be a problem. But yeah, I still would do that. Or if you're totally unsure, just call your HOA number and just say, hey, I'm getting gutters on the home. Is that something I need to get the architectural review board to review, or can I just do it? Honestly, because it's a gutter, it's almost like you could get the quotes and get all of that stuff ready to go. It shouldn't be a problem. But that being said, you should always check with your HOA.
There was more discussion in there. Just, you might not see it because they don't have a Q on it. But basically, people were asking, well, Sydney was saying she thought all homes had to have gutters here because of all the rain. And so the question is, where does all that water go?
Right. Elizabeth just sent me on that. She cut her finger. Wait. Okay, I know. Just Elizabeth, check with Elizabeth. She said her cut her finger this morning. A text message popped up on Eric's computer, and she said she cut her finger. So Eric's going to check on that. Anyway, so back to the gutters while Eric's checking on our baby girl. So So yeah, and homes are not required to have them. Again, because of the way we grade, I don't do it, because the way the land has been graded, meaning the leveling of it or the lack of leveling of it, actually, it's more that they kind of, it kind of will bow out a little bit so that it runs off and away from the foundation. Whenever you do a new construction walkthrough, they actually talk about that. Before your home starts at a pre-construction meeting, they will typically even show you sort of like the survey, but like the lot fit, meaning your home sitting on the lot, and they kind of show you the elevation of, okay, well, this is going to be where, this is how high the ground is here, but you'll see that it runs off this way, and so it's a little bit lower down here. So homes do not have to have gutters here. Our first home here in Virginia did not have gutters. We did not need them. They still don't have gutters. It's still not needed. It doesn't get clogged with, I call it pine straw because I'm from Virginia. We don't have the leaves and stuff like that necessarily that would fall in some of the homes here. Same thing with the home that we're in now. We have gutters on the home we have now simply because of the way our roof is and the way our front porch is. If we didn't have gutters, it would just be a waterfall at our front door. So, was there other questions in there, honey, that I need to answer? Did that kind of answer?
No, you're good. Elizabeth's fine. Her point was she's going to handwrite something because she cut her finger on the coffee creamer top and she can't type as well.
Oh,
but
okay.
She's fine.
Okay. So. All right. My girl is fine, everyone. Elizabeth is fine. Okay. That girl, let me just tell you that she is the sweetest creature, and she got a little tattoo. I have to share this. She got a little tattoo on her wrist, and it says, "And yet I smile." I'm going to cry. She just has all the bad luck happens to her. Like literally, I mean, I know we all kind of have stuff, but there's just been so many big monumental things in her life that, she's kind of missed the boat, class of 2020, didn't get the graduation after all that hard work to kind of get her there. And then the wedding, now she did have a beautiful wedding, but because they got married earlier, because he's in the military, the big giant wedding that she had dreamed of didn't really come to fruition. Although what she had was absolutely beautiful. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. Now the closing kind of got messed up. College, she has to do an extra semester, which means she doesn't get to graduate with the rest of her friends. And, these things aren't like her fault. And so it was just really sweet because she has a little tattoo that says, "And yet I smile." So through all of that, she's like, you know what? It's okay. I'm good. So
she's the best.
She is the best. Okay. Anyway.
Our other kids are nice too.
Our other kids
They're
are fabulous too. So Forrest
and
Elizabeth, or Forrest and Allie, and Dawson's not watching. He is at his class at JMU. All right. Anyway. So let's go to another one. So Shell says, do homeowners in Orlando use hurricane shutters? Not where we are, but yeah, I think on the coast, either on the Gulf Coast or Atlantic Coast, closer to the water. Yes, I do. I have seen them on homes. But right here where we are, I haven't really seen any hurricane shutters on them. No. Remember that newer windows are usually built to withstand winds up to about 120 miles an hour. The newer low-E windows that are great energy efficiency, and they also have, and that's wind resistant. Okay, nothing is hurricane proof. If a projectile is going to come, it's going to break your window. It doesn't matter. But if it's just wind, a lot of the windows are built to sustain about 120 mile an hour winds. So that's good information to have. Greg, I love you, Greg. Have you been able to take any Fridays off yet, Greg?
Hiya.
Well, so the first Friday that we started it, yes, I did have a day off. Yanil took some clients out. She did a fabulous job. That was actually great. I really didn't look at my phone. There, what was urgent for the day had been taken care of by Yanil. Then the second Friday that my Fridays off was to be in effect was the Friday that we've moved my son in to JMU. So I would say yes, that Friday I was off. There wasn't really anything going on with clients, I don't believe. I think Yanil was there on standby, but she didn't have to take care of anything, which is good. But so we moved my son in. This past Friday was supposed to be my daughter's closing, but I was still working because there was no way with all of those last minute things. I was constantly on my email. I was constantly on my phone. I was constantly text messaging clients because not only was I dealing with our stuff, but I was also dealing with the stuff for my clients that were needing something on Friday. So ultimately this past Friday was not off at all. And then this coming Friday, what do I have this Friday? Basically I've decided I may have to change the day of the week.
Yeah, it's going to have to be Thursdays.
I have this Friday, I've got a very sweet, lady that's closing on, and I want to be there for her. The next week I have,
Paige.
I know it's like, so
yeah.
it's just, I think I'm gonna have to switch it and not be Friday. I don't know, guys. I don't think it's in the cards for me, but we'll see.
We're gonna do days. We're gonna take days.
We're going to.
We will be taking
but Greg,
a day
thank
off.
you for asking that.
Yeah.
So Ben, where do the gutters usually discharge? Side of the house, curb, sewer. I'm guessing you mean like after, so the gutters from the home are obviously, they're going to be on the exterior edges, corners of your home. They're going to have it run off to those outer edges. And that's where your land or your lot is going to be graded, so that it's like, if this is your house, it's going to kind of slightly come down, and then it goes into the little spaces between the homes. Ultimately, it's going to soak down into the soil. Now, if it is huge runoff, like if it's the torrential Florida downpours where it doesn't have enough time to soak into the ground and disperse there, then yes, it just goes out into the street and down into the gutters. What do you call them, Eric? The little gutter areas on the sides of the road where they have like the open aspects of it. Let's see. Lisa, going back to yesterday's drive, do any of the bungalow developments have enough property allow a fenced-in yard with pool? Well, so my clients did. Actually, not generally. I will say not generally, because generally it is a rear entry garage style home. You don't have a yard. So the only way that could even maybe be possible is if you happen to have a corner home site. And if it just means that your property is a little bit larger. I did have a client, one of my first clients, the first client that contracted in there has already closed, but he had the best lot. I mean, it is enormous, and he actually can build a pool in the side of his yard. He has so much yard space, and HOA would approve that for him. But generally speaking, with bungalows, do not expect the ability to do so, but there are some rare situations where it can happen.
So the breaking news thing, we joke about it a lot, right? I have actual breaking news.
Oh. I'm sorry.
You stepped on my buzz.
I stepped on your buzz. You stepped on mine.
Here's the thing.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Amy, we have a full price offer for the townhome.
Woo!
So yeah, offer just came in for one of Amy's listings.
Oh my gosh!
Full price. So.
Woo! That's awesome. Really?
Yeah. See now. Aren't you
so
glad
good.
I brought you the breaking news? So
I am.
We'll deal with it after. But
yes. Oh my gosh. Well, we knew an offer was coming, so we had. I think we told you in our community we had a townhome that went active and a bungalow, a very large bungalow, by the way, over 2,600 square feet. Rear entry, beautiful home, and we also had a townhome. They both went active like the same day. And yeah, we had a showing yesterday for the townhome and full price offer. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Yay. Okay. This is my problem. I am way too emotionally invested in all this. I get just so excited for everybody. Honestly, it's like that's such a great thing. Anyway. Okay. So we'll deal with that as soon as this is over. Anyway, so I think we got most of those questions. Let me get to some of these other fun little doodah ditties on here, because this is wishes, so I don't forget them. Yes. I did. Oh, wishes open. I have to do wishes open. Okay, there we go. So, wishes coming true. So we have quite a few of them. We have Elizabeth and Steele. That's going to close on Thursday. Willie and Susan closing today, actually. Last week when I think I mentioned I had to scoot out of here because I had to go do a new homeowner orientation. Willie and Susan, today we have a final walk and then closing today. Yes, Ken and Kim, these are repeat clients of mine. This is the third, 1, 2, 3. This is the fourth with them. I helped them buy their home, sell their home, buy the home that they have now, and now we sold their home. So 4 times with them. Lovely family, and their home is now sold. They're moving on. They're closing this week as well. And then we also have another page. We have Morgan and Jake. Oh my gosh. These are referrals from a super sweet client. I love it when my clients become friends. Seriously, it is just the best. So Morgan and Jake, young, sweet couple. and they just got their offer accepted on a home that we saw it on Saturday morning. We submitted an offer yesterday morning, and it was accepted yesterday afternoon. So they're under contract. Juhari and Junior, we have their new homeowner orientation, I believe, tomorrow. They're going to be closing soon. And then Tammy and Paul closing on their home. So we have a lot of closings coming up here. So, and as always, I see all these names and it's like, I see their sweet faces, but I also I get like overwhelmed with like, oh my gosh, I love you guys so much. This is just wonderful. So thank you guys, all of you for entrusting me and us to be a part of whether you were buying that home or selling that home. So that's fantastic. All right. So let me go. You want to do the market report?
I think it's good.
Do the market. Okay, so just as a reminder, you can always go to heartandhomeorlando.com/market. We do these every week. These are something you can actually download and review yourself if you want to. Just a quick overview, and that's, I'll show you that one in a minute. But just a quick overview. So here in Disney's backyard, this is the first time, and I'll have Eric kind of chime in here in a minute, just because sometimes he can explain these things a little bit better. But if you look at in our Horizon West area, in our villages, Hamlin, Bridgewater, Hickory Nut, and Lakeside. So this is the first time that we're seeing an actual from year to year decrease in this 30-day time period. Only by about 5%. Is that what you said? About 5%-ish. Now keep in mind, it's 30 days from year to year. So when we're in the prime time of hot and heavy, and then, we start to slow down, but there's other aspects to it too. The year to year increase in the Sidell and the Ovation villages. So that's kind of important. Eric, did you want to chime in before I flip over to the actual full market?
Well, yeah, just, so the main thing is market stats are funny, because you can sort of make market stats say what you want them to say. So we have picked a metric and we're sticking with that metric. And so it can be a little confusing in that what we do there is we're taking the last 30 days, and we're comparing the last 30 days of this year to that same exact time period last year. For us, that's the best way to tell where the market's going. And really what that tells us is 5% is not that big a deal on one report. If we see it for the next 3 or 4 reports, then we'll go, okay, well, that kind of tells us, hey, we may be seeing a little bit of a downward trend. What we're really seeing is we were going like this, and then we're kind of going like this now. Like we're flattening out a little bit, but it's just worth keeping an eye on. So if you want to, you can, Amy's texting her client. I promise you that's what's happening.
I am. I had to text them.
That full price offer is a big deal.
It's a very big deal.
The key is to keep an eye on those things, but you can get that market report every week. Forrest, our son and data analyst, does that every week, and there is not a better, more comprehensive market report that you can go to. So you can put that up on the screen if you want. So you can go to heartandhomeorlando.com/market and get that report every week. Usually on Wednesday, maybe sometimes on Thursday, the new report goes up, but you can track it. It's a good way to tell, as opposed to what other folks may give you, which is like, there were 40 homes sold this month. Who cares?
Who cares?
What does that mean unless you compare it to something else? So that's okay.
No, I think that's fantastic. And I will tell you, giving Forrest some major props here. So the ability to have him assist through some of these things, for instance, and this is just a perfect example of having that information immediately accessible while I'm still with a client. So when I took Morgan and Jake out on Saturday, we went to an open house of a home that they were interested in. There was a home that they were also interested in down the street, but they didn't ask to see it because it was already priced at the tip top of their price point. And looking at the pictures, the walls were orange, and they're like, if we pay full price for this, we're not going to have the money to paint it and do the little upgrades and things that we want. And so we didn't see it. But then I said, well, look, why don't we run the numbers on it and see if that home is overpriced? Because if that home is overpriced and you like it better, we can always submit an offer, and then that may still allow you the room in your budget. So I'm still out with them, right? We're still looking at the home, and I'm sending Eric and Forrest together. We have our little text chain, and I'm like, I need these 2 addresses. Please do a quick, comparison and contrast them. And it was perfect because he said, yes, the one that was at 550 was overpriced, gave all the quick da-da-da-da-da. And he said, conversely, the other one, which is the one that we saw, was underpriced. And it was like, it was a great deal. So having that information easily accessible by somebody who's dealing with those numbers while I'm physically still out with a client it was just amazing because it allowed us to be far more efficient than it would have been if I had said, yeah, I'll get back. I'll play with the numbers. I'll see what we've got, which by the way, I can do that too. But it's important. I didn't mean I can do what Forrest does too. I meant I can come back home and figure out, are we overpriced? Are we underpriced? But the efficiency of it and the detail was phenomenal because I'm able to boom, send that to my clients. And they're like, okay, great. That makes up our mind.
Sometimes we're kind of making this up as we go along. I mean, we're pretty good at it now. No, but I mean, we're pretty good at it now because we've been doing this for many, many years now. But sometimes on Saturday, when we've got on a Saturday, our guy is on the computer figuring out pricing on those two homes, and it absolutely made a difference. Sometimes I go, we're kind of good at this. Like that was one of the times I was like, oh, we have this dialed in a little bit. We kind of know what we're doing. So that makes me happy. And breaking news, Penny has to go outside. She's over your shoulder. I'm going to go let her out.
Okay. Yeah, shocking. Okay, so let's do what's the word, because I think this is important information too. And what time is it? Yeah, see, we always get right. How do I talk so much, guys? It's like, be nice.
Say it again, sister.
All right, so let's do the what's the word. Where is it? Where's the word? Oh, there it is.
There it is, yeah.
There, I found it.
Oh, now come on, Amy, tell me what's the word.
Okay, here it is, my friends. The word is as is. That is a term that we use for our resale contracts, for resale sales of transactions of homes. So the reason I want to talk about this is because depending on where you're from, this may or may not be something that you're used to. We've said this before as well, that in Florida, our contracts are standard. We use what we call a FAR bar contract. The FAR bar is by the Florida Association of Realtors and the Florida Bar. And so these are all standardized contracts that we use, meaning all of the legal jargon, verbiage, all of that is in there. It's not something that each broker writes or each agent writes or anything like that. So as is, we talk about the as is contract and what that means. So when you are purchasing a resale home, okay, whether that home is a year old or whether it's 30 years old, you are going to be using in Florida an as-is contract, the FAR bar as-is contract. And what that means is it's protecting both parties, actually. It's saying that that home is being sold as is. It tells you right there, as is. The way you see the home is the way you're going to get the home. If you see it with dirty walls, that's the way you're going to get it. If you see it with cracked tiles, that's the way you're going to get it. If you see it with, some paint touch-ups, or if you see it in pristine condition, that's the way you're going to get it. Now, it's saying that the seller, the owner of the home, is not planning on making any repairs, replacing any items, or making any concessions. Now, that's what they're intending. It also, however, protects the buyer because the buyer is going to have a protection period for your inspection. So if you were to do an inspection, if you say 5 days, then as a buyer, you're going to be protected for 5 days. If you say 7 days, you'll be protected for 7 days. If you do 10 days, which is a little bit more, I feel like, fair. If it's a competitive offer, if it's a competitive property, it's going to be more advantageous to do a shorter inspection period because that's the liability is reduced for the seller because it's only 5 days or 7 days they have to worry about. Are they going to change their mind or back out of the contract? 10 days is fair. I think that's a good one. It gives you enough time to get the inspection done, gives you enough time to get the inspection report back. It gives you enough time. For instance, back to my sweet couple that just had their offer accepted yesterday. That home is a little bit older. There are definitely going to be some inspection items that pop up. Not going to be a surprise, but I always tell my clients what we want to focus on are the mechanical and the structural aspects of that inspection report. Because the as-is part is going to be talking about, again, it's going to have love and laughter and a little bit of wear and tear on that home, right? So there's going to be some bumps and bruises on the home along the way. There's going to be some chips. There's going to be some scratches. There's going to be some dings. There may be a hole in the wall or a cracked tile or the grout may need to be redone. There's going to be things. That's as is. However, if your AC unit is not working properly, if there is a severe structural deficiency that has been noted, if there is water intrusion or leak or mold issues, that means that during that time period, the buyer is protected and they can say, hey, look, seller, I know it's an as-is contract, but here's a couple of items that we weren't expecting as part of the as-is. They weren't really visible, like the bumps and the bruises that we can see. Therefore, we are going to request that you do these items for repairs or replace or a concession. Maybe it means, hey, look, one of the homes my client is purchasing needs an entire new roof. So we asked the buyer or the seller if they would replace the roof. They didn't want to replace it, but they reduced the price by $30,000. We got a quote for the roof, blah, blah, blah. We made it work out. So as is, the main thing for you to know is that it means that you need to go into the purchase of that home with the expectation that what you see is what you get. However, you are going to have an inspection done, or at least I highly encourage you to do so. And during that time period, you are still protected. So if you get an inspection report back and it has some problems and you can't get satisfaction from the seller to make some kind of a concession or to do that replacement, then you can cancel your contract and get your earnest money deposit back. So the as-is nature is going to protect both parties. Doesn't mean that you can't make requests. It just doesn't mean, it just means that, you need to go into it with the understanding that that's the way this contract is going to read. Okay? Okay, good.
Yeah, a couple more questions.
Couple more questions. Okay. Okay, let's see. Oh no. I have to find it again. Where is it? I don't see it. The little cursor drives me bonkers over here. You found it. Did you find it? There it is. I found it. Okay. All right. Closing is a pain. Yes, they should ask. Yeah. Right. I did. I just didn't do the colon. All right. Oh, Dawson just finished his class and he says it's easy.
Nice.
Yay. All right. So let's see. Okay. So somebody, where's the one about the Haven Oaks?
It was Bijou, I think.
Oh, there it is. I see it. Okay. Yep. Oh my gosh, I made it. You're so cute. I made it to a live chat. Do you have any updates on Toll Brothers Haven Oaks? I love how it is a little hood in the city. So yeah, it is still basically the term's still coming soon, right? Won't we hate that? But it is nice to know that it exists. My biggest thing is that I really wish that they would only do coming soon if it's going to be ready within the next 6 months. And sometimes it's like a year in advance. But in this case, those homes look like they're going to be starting in the mid 600s. And again, I always tell people that, when you are purchasing a home and if it says base price in those mid sixes, you're going to need to add on a tremendous amount. So I would say that most likely those homes are going to be at or pushing $1 million or over by the time the homes are finished being built.
Toll Brothers will add $1.01.
Yes, they will. Well, again, rule of thumb, right? Take the base price of a home and add about 15% to it. And then that does not necessarily include a lot premium. And so, by the time you start adding all of that in, and it's Toll Brothers, right? So they're known to be a little bit more high end. That's going to be subject to review and your impression of such. But generally speaking, you're going to pay a pretty penny for it. So anyway, there we go. Cool. All right. Did I get all of them? Rob, how easy and or expensive is it to get home insurance? We get this question a lot just because, things are, tend to be a little bit more difficult now. But honestly, we just haven't had that many issues with it. We have a great insurance broker that we usually refer our clients to, and usually with great success, they get the information that they need. I also have some interesting. I also have some former clients that are in insurance, and so they are actually doing the insurance on my daughter's home. And Eric, you might want to chime in on that because you probably have more financial.
Yeah. So Jeremy Jones from State Farm is a client friend, and I just sent him the stuff off for Elizabeth's house, and it was excitingly kind of not very expensive. So like $2,000 for the year, which around here, and for the cost of her home, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So that's good. So, the point is, we can assist you through that process. We can give you some names of some companies, whether it's an actual agent or whether it's a broker that will do some work for you to kind of price it out and to shop it around for you. If you are doing a new construction home, keep in mind that a lot of times that title company or that lender will recommend or throw somebody in. Again, it's your right to choose whatever insurance company you want. You do have to have insurance on that home. So I always tell people sometimes it's easier if you just do it with them. But as always, shop the rate. We are in a time where it's really important to do what you can to be more competitive and to be more conservative with your own finances. So in this time, I tell people, yeah, absolutely, go shop it out. See who you can get to give you that insurance coverage at a rate that's going to feel a little bit better. Ben, any more Soren segments coming? Absolutely, Ben. We've just been a little bit busy lately, and I think Eric was going to try to do those every other week, every 3 weeks, something like that. But I'm glad you liked it. I liked that too. I think that was a really a great supplement kind of to the Sunday drive where you can have us talk about things, then you can see things at car level, and then the Soren. Ben asked for more Soren segments, honey. He didn't hear me.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. Ben asked for more Soren segments. So
yes,
I
shot some. I shot like one, but I need like 3 pieces. I am shooting some today or tomorrow. So on next week's show, I can commit to you, Amy,
and Ben,
we will have a fly-in. We can't use Soren because that's copyrighted. So fly-in.
Oh yeah. Right. All right. One more question, and then we're going to do what I'm watching, and then we're going to scoot because it's 10:05. All right. So Kim asked, do most people get flood insurance in Central Florida? Kim, that is a great question. So you are not, unless you live in a flood zone. And by the way, we have different categorizations for that, and those are determined by FEMA. Okay. So if flood zone X, you're clear. You're not in a flood zone. You don't need to get flood insurance. You can get flood insurance if you want to, but you're not in a flood zone. FEMA has determined that you are not in danger of having your property flood. So flood insurance is not going to be required. There are some other categorizations like AE, which means a little tiny section, and it may say, once in 100 years it may flood. So again, different categorizations determined by FEMA. So if you are not in an area where it is going to be required, then you do not need to buy it, but you can if you want to, just because you want to. If you are in a flood zone, you are going to be required, and that again is determined by what FEMA has allocated where your property is. And I have had clients where it's the tiny back corner is in an AE zone because there's a lake kind of on that corner. I will say that anytime you have a home in Florida at closing, they will go through, if you were in a flood zone X, they will tell you currently you are not in a flood zone. You do not have to have flood insurance. However, the disclaimer, if FEMA ever reevaluates and determines that you are in a flood zone, at that time you will be required to get flood insurance. So if it's not required, then you don't need to worry about it. And that will be determined on your categorization, which is easy enough to find out. It's even in public records, I believe. So easy breezy. Good question. All right. So with that, I'm going to do the what I'm watching, and then we're going to go because I got exciting news to share with people all the way. Okay. Eric and I, neither one of us can remember if we did the what I'm watching last week because it was a little bit crazy. And sometimes we don't throw them in there because we're running short on time. But I am still watching Fear of the Walking Dead, but I wanted to take a little break in the middle. And so I watched this. I think it was 6 or 7 episodes, The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart. I really like this. Sigourney Weaver is in it. Anything she's in is fabulous. But it was great. I really liked it. So if you're looking for hey, you know what? It's going to be stormy and rainy because there's this hurricane off the coast. And you just kind of want to hunker down, put your sweatpants on and get your coffee and just snuggle up. I recommend that one. It's only a few episodes, so that'll be good. Oh my God.
Amy, I'm here on the other side of the counter, and I forgot to tell you that I saw a promo last night that Big Brother starts on Wednesday.
Awkward silence. No, that's...
You like Big Brother.
I did. I know, but we haven't watched it in a while. We haven't watched it the last 2 seasons. We used to watch... So Big Brother, we used to watch that reality show. And then I promise I'm going. Big Brother's this reality show. I used to watch it because my children were... 3 of the 4 of them were all born during the summer. And that had to be timed around my dance studio back when I was in Virginia. Their births had to be... safely away from the recital. And so that meant they were all summer babies. And Big Brother used to come it was like a summer reality show. And it was great because it came on a couple times a week. I had a new baby. I was like at the house. I wasn't working. The studio was closed. And so it was just something that I would do every summer. I would just kind of watch that. Well, I've got 4 kids, so it kind of happened a lot. And then as the kids got older, we watched it together. But we stopped watching it because it was just, we could tell the producers were way too involved with what was actually happening with things. And so it just kind of got a little disheartening because I don't like things that aren't authentic, people. Like if it's going to be real in a reality show, then let it be a reality show. But some things are just a little bit too staged. I didn't like that. So anyway, but thank you, dear. I appreciate that. Maybe I'll try to tune in. Anyway, all right, guys. So I am going to scoot because I have some work I need to do. Final walkthrough, closing this afternoon, hurricane prep.
I consider that the hours I spend with a cue in my hand are golden. Help me cultivate horse sense.
I just wanted to end with we got.
Oh, you want to end? Oh, do you want me to end it?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying.
Okay, so he has the music man. Okay, so play out music. All right, so here we go, guys. As always, please stay safe, stay well. Remember that we love you. Where's my wrap button? Where's my wrap? Oh, here it is. Please stay safe, stay well. Remember, we love you guys. Thanks for joining in. I will see you next Monday. Happy house hunting. Bye.
And you're still on.
Oh, no, I did
Good
it.
night, everybody.